What did the Elizabethans eat and drink? The seasons were really important. For example, animals were often killed on Martinmas, which is the 11th of November, partly to have that meat for Christmas, but also because the farmers may not be able to afford to pay to feed the animals over the winter. Food shortages were a real problem, and famine, bad harvests could literally lead to people starving to death. So food hoarding was very much frowned upon, but also you could receive quite a hefty fine for it. Even William Shakespeare himself received a fine for hoarding some food. As well as hoarding, you might try your hand at poaching if you're particularly hungry, but this could carry the death penalty. Or even something as small as taking a single fish from a river could land you with a fine. Fish could be hard to come by if you didn't live in a city. It was hard to get fish more than 20 miles inland, which could be problematic because certain days of the week you weren't allowed to eat meat. Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Lent and Advent, you weren't supposed to be eating meat, so you could hopefully get some fish instead. Now, under Elizabeth, this wasn't just religious guidance, this was secular law. And one of the reasons for that is they thought it would help sort of boost the fish trade economy. You'd probably need to store your food quite carefully, so things like plums could be turned into jam, lemons and oranges, which were imported, could be turned into marmalade, but they needed quite a lot of sugar, which was obviously expensive. They had some interesting ideas about what food was healthy and what was not, just like we do today. For example, sage was believed to sharpen the brain, lettuce was supposed to help you sleep, but then some foods like tomatoes were believed to have no nutritional value whatsoever and would probably just be given to the pigs. Elizabethans had breakfast, which was quite revolutionary. Prior to that, in the medieval period, people didn't really have breakfast. They would break their fast after doing a little bit of work. It tended to just be quite simple though, just something like bread and butter, and meat really wasn't eaten at breakfast at all. So when we think about the traditional English breakfast, that's not an Elizabethan one. Generally, they would have their main meal at lunchtime, either at 11 a.m. or midday, and a smaller meal around 5 or 6 p.m. And I will let you argue whether those meals are called dinner, supper, tea, or lunch. Wine tended to be a luxury. It had to be imported, then it was heavily taxed, and then it had to be sort of transported to country manors and things like that. So by the time it reached people, it was very expensive. Spiced wine was often used at celebrations such as christenings and weddings. There you go, little insight into Elizabethan food.